What's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And today we are talking about Romeo Doubs, wide receiver out of Nevada. And we're talking about a guy who is 6'2", 200 pounds, had a lot of targets, a lot of production over there in Nevada this past season, a lot of receiving touchdowns, a lot of production there. Carson Strong was not wrong when he targeted Doubs. 130.6 QB rating when targeting Romeo Doubs. You gotta love that. Drop rate of just 4.8, which isn't great, I understand, but it's not terrible, and it's above average. Had a little bit more of a drop issue in the 2020 season, but 2021 was very, very good. And listen, tied for 12th in the entire country over average depth of target. So that just tells you of, what they're doing. To have a combination of 130.6 target rating when targeted that deep down the field, it tells you how open he was getting. He was obliterating, absolutely obliterating the competition at the Mountain West Conference. All right, his explosiveness, his athleticism, all of those things, his twitchiness, yeah, it just was far and away better than the competition. It just was. And let's get right into it with his skill set, because I mean, the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, is his quickness and burst. This is a guy who has elite quickness and burst. For me, 7 and above is an elite grade, and I almost never give out 8s. 8.1 is a special grade for me. I think it is special. Now, granted, and again, I will hesitate to mention it too many times, because I know I have a tendency of over explaining certain points, but Mountain West Conference, maybe I am overgrading that particular skill set, and maybe when we get into crunch time, it's a little bit closer to draft, I bring that grade a little bit down, but I'm not doing it yet. I spent a lot of time before hitting record on this video thinking about it, and I decided, no, I'm not wrong. I really believe it is special, and that's what I'm going to stick with. All right, his hands 5.6 checks the box. I'm good with it. I don't think it's a huge issue by any means. And listen, I think his overall athleticism at a 6.4, it is special. This isn't a guy who's 5'9", 200 pounds just blowing by people, or excuse me, he is about 205 pounds, but he's 6'1". He has some size to him. Maybe that's an unofficial size, I understand. Maybe he ends up being a little bit smaller, but he's in that range. He is a bigger, stockier guy. He can play some physical ball. Contested catch at 6.3. Very good at high pointing the ball, has strong hands, brings it in. Really, the only reason his hands are as low as it is because he does have concentration drops. At the end of the day, he has good hands. He has the ability to bring it down. Yards after catch, very good at a 6.2. I will say my only issue there, a little bit too much wasted movement, a little bit too much of this when it's like, hey, get up and go. I think that's a very reasonable thing, like getting coached out of him. That's a complaint that I think I have with a lot of guys at the college level. It just is what it is. At the NFL level, everybody's too good. You don't really have time for that. People are gonna break down on you so fast that it's not quite the same at the college level. And at the end of the day, still very good with the ball in his hands. That just matches up with everything else that I've talked about him so far. Explosive guy. Cut and change the direction, again, very good. I want to kind of talk about that and his separation in the same kind of conversation, because 6.3, 6.6, these are very positive grades. These are very good grades. The only reason they're not in that upper echelon conversation is because there was just this weird thing where I wasn't seeing him get open, in the mid to intermediate range as much as I would have liked, and cut and change the direction is part of that for me. And at the end of the day, as I'm kind of talking through, as I was kind of going back to my notes, I might even bring that down a little bit. I won't do it right now, but at the end of the day, I might, adjust that down just a tad. It's just one of those things where, for whatever reason, I don't have a good explanation. I wish I was good enough to dissect exactly why this is an issue. I'll be honest, I did a little bit of research looking at other people's, scouting notebook, and I didn't see the issue come up a whole lot. So maybe it's just in my my head a little bit, but I did feel like he was struggling to uncover versus versus these underneath, these intermediate to short routes, and that is why it's not an elite level. And I think Ketten change of direction is what I ultimately blamed it on. And again, it's not bad. He can juke with the best of them. He has the ability to change his speed very, very quickly, but I think ultimately it kind of goes into route running a little bit, but ultimately there was just this lack of ability to blow by people or create space in those intermediate routes. That's the best way I can explain it anyway. Route tree at a 3, that's kind of goes into it. He didn't run a whole lot of routes. He had a lot of variety in the way he ran a go route. He had a lot of variety in the way he ran a comeback route. But at the end of the day, there wasn't a ton of stuff over the middle. There wasn't a ton of stuff, in intermediate range. And I know I just kind of hit that pretty hard and talked about that for a minute. It was there, but it just wasn't a whole lot. Route tree is fairly limited at this point. Again, I think that's something he can learn. Moving on to contact balance, this is a guy who is, he has that, nice stocky build, and he's a fighter. He's a physical wide receiver. He is not somebody that's going to get bullied by, I don't think, anybody especially at the college level, and not at the NFL level either. I just think he's one of those dudes. He plays with a level of tenacity that I love. I think it's part of the reason that I just enjoy watching him so much. He's absolutely one of my favorite people to watch in this class so far. He's just a lot of fun to put on the film or really just put on the highlight tape, whatever you want to put on. Fun guy to watch. I highly suggest that. Body control at 5.6 checks the box, very good. Release was very good. He does have quick feet, he does have explosiveness, and he does have that physicality. All of those things combined for the ability to get off the line very, very well. And to be completely honest, you just didn't see a whole lot of press man coverage, and if you did, there was help over top, and you just didn't see a whole lot of that because he was just too fast for these corners. So you weren't going to see somebody really try and body him up, because there just wasn't a lot of guys that could have done that and recovered and kept up with him stride for stride. It's not possible. It wasn't an option for these guys, the guys that he was playing anyway. And then blocking at a 4, I put it at a 4 because it was a negative grade in college at the end of the day. So I can't give him a positive A+ to it, but I do think he projects well to it. It wasn't, I didn't put it as low as maybe it could have been. Like, it's not like this dude is 150, 5'9", 150 and just isn't gonna block anybody at the next level. He's not. He's a bigger guy. He's a stockier guy. He's a guy who can get physical, and he showed physicality in his routes. He showed physicality off the line, all of those things. So I think he projects well to be a blocker. Just didn't see it enough in college to feel super comfortable with where he is right now. Again, as a guy who is going to grow at the NFL level, I think obviously there is going to be a culture shock, as there is for every rookie going to the next level. Will he make that transition? I think is going to be a question that a lot of people are asking. I am emphatically saying yes. I really think he will. I really think that this is a guy who will be a well-known name in the NFL among, all circles, but specifically, fantasy people. I do think this is a guy to know, and maybe he is a little bit of an under-the-radar guy. I know I'm in a dynasty league that I'm going to be looking for him late. I see him as that type of guy. And again, it obviously depends so much on where he goes and how he's utilized and all these things. I hope he doesn't go super late and it's just viewed as a one-trick pony. I really believe this is a guy who can go in the second round. I really do think this is a guy who, if he tests well at the combine, I don't know if he's going to the Senior Bowl, but if he does and he plays well there, he could rise his stock into that, back into the first round kind of conversation. I think he's that good. I think ultimately he can be Deebo Samuel. He's not that right now. That's not really how he was used in college. So maybe that's a hot take or a poor take on my part, but I think he can grow into that role. I really believe that. I think he's a very good player. I'm a big fan of his. All right, I said my piece, guys. I hope you go watch the highlight reel because he is a lot of fun to watch. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back next time with another draft profile, mock draft Monday, every Monday on this channel, so check that out as well. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.